Military preparedness calls for tanks, bombs, and grenades. In the face of growing global tensions, many countries are arming themselves more than ever. Between 1998 and 2018, worldwide defense spending rose almost continuously, with one plateau, to nearly $2 trillion a year in 2018, a sharp increase over 2017. The U.S. is by far the biggest spender on weapons, and it shows no sign of changing course. In 2018, Washington increased its military spending for the first time in 7 years. China has the second largest defense budget, which it also boosted in 2018. Saudi Arabia, a traditionally well-armed country with the third largest budget, reduced its spending. India and France increased their defense budgets last year, as did Russia. Major world powers China and India have outpaced Russia in their defense spending, which is why the Asia-Pacific region is said to be arming itself. By contrast, African countries' spending on weapons has declined. Eastern Europe and parts of the Middle East have also reduced their defense budgets, according to available data. But that has no bearing on the overall trend. For many countries, the requirements for security have never been higher.
Okay, let's get more on that report now with Peter Wesemann. He's a senior researcher with SIPRI in Stockholm. Peter, thanks so much for coming in this morning. The U.S. has seen a spike in its defense spending. Can you give us an idea what's behind that? And will the U.S.'s high levels of spending continue, in your opinion?
What's behind that is, of course, the Trump administration putting a stress on the need for what they would call a strong military defense. They have promoted that for several years now, and they've now succeeded in actually increasing military spending in the US. That is the thing which the Trump administration has been stressing for quite some time.
Okay, and do you see that trend continuing in Washington?
Considering that the Trump administration is going to be there for another 1 or 2 years, it is likely that we may see a further increase also in the coming year.
Okay, what about with Russia? It's no longer in the top 5 in defense spending. What do you attribute that to?
I think the two things which are important to mention there, on the one hand, Russia has gone through a period of a very steep increase in military spending since about 2008. And that came to a halt in about 2016-17, after which there were some smaller decreases. But of course, important to mention here that military spending in Russia maintains much higher than it was 10 years ago. And part of that is the explanation for the end of that increase in spending is that Russia has achieved some of the objectives it had in 2010 when it started a major military modernization program. And of course, it has to keep up with economic realities. For example, the price of oil has fallen, and that is an important part of the Russian economy. So also there, some more careful approaches by Russia were needed.
Okay, well, what about China's military objectives? Its spending is at about $250 billion. It's approaching that halfway mark with the United States. What are its objectives militarily?
It's of course difficult to know what its exact objectives are, but I think it's important to stress that China wants to be a major power, a regional power, but also a global power. It wants to have the military means to be able to secure its trade routes, its lines of communication, and as such it follows very much what the US already has done for many more decades. And that is, of course, the other part of things too. There is a sort of rivalry between the two, and it's not surprising in that sense that China will kind of follow the lead of the US when it comes to military spending.
Peter Wesemann with SIPRI in Stockholm, thank you so very much for your insights this morning.
Thank you.